Okay. This is the last part to all of the books that I read in 2025. So, hi there. I don't have that much books just because I didn't read much this time. And, yeah. So, in October, okay. Yeah. Anyways, in October, I only read two books. First one is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I originally read this because I wanted to watch the movie that came out in November. Anyways, because I wanted to watch the movie that came out in November because it's the most book accurate. I rated this 5 stars. I was gonna rate it 4 stars just because I hate Victor and he's insufferable, but that's literally the entire point. And he's literally inspired by one of Mary Shelley's friends, whose name is Lord Byron, and he's literally a deadbeat dad. So, yeah. But anyways,
What are you saying about me?
no. Anyways, but I really like the movie, and I love I always forget his name. Guillermo del Toro. Toro. Anyways, yeah, like the first half of this, I was a little annoyed just because I don't like Victor at all. But that is literally the entire point. He's not meant to be likable. He's meant to be this insufferable college dropout who has a god complex. That's literally what he is. There were still some inaccuracies in the movie that I wish that they had. Like there's some things in the book that I wish that they had kept. Like his age and him being a college dropout and all that. And also, what is her name? It's like, what is her name? I forgot her name. Oh my god. I forgot her name, guys. What is her name? I don't remember her name. Damn it. Anyways, there's a character in here. It starts with like a J or something, but it's like,
Look it up.
what's her name? Oh my god, that's gonna actually bug me now. But like, she is basically kind of important to the story because Victor's little brother is the first person to get killed by the creature, and somebody gets framed for it, and she ends up getting killed for it, and it's a huge thing. What is it? What is her name? I cannot spell Frankenstein. Justine, that's her name. Anyways, pretty much in every single adaptation, Justine is irrelevant. Like, they never mention her at all. I watched the movie from the 30s, and I watched Bride. I don't like it. I really want to watch the new one that's going to come out in like February or March or something.
Of what?
Of it's called The Bride or something like that, and it's about Frankenstein's bride, and it looks super good.
I was gonna say that just came out with the Frankenstein movie.
It's a completely different like director, and it's completely unrelated to the one that just came out, but it looks really good. Anyways, but yeah, I really like this, and this is my favorite cover because this is what he literally looks like. Like, he's literally described as having long, thick black hair, and skin is yellow as jaundice yellow. He's literally described as having jaundice yellow skin in the book. And so I actually really like that they included it in the movie because it's pretty realistic. So, yeah, there's that. And then, like I literally said, I found a new favorite author last year, Mieko Kawakami. I literally love all of her work. So far, I've read 3 out of the 4 translated books that have been published. There's another one that's going to be published this year, and I want to read that one too. And then I forgot what that one's called. It's like The Spring of something. I don't remember. And then there's Miss Ice Cream Sandwich or something like that, or Miss Ice Sandwich. I don't remember exactly, but that's another one that I want to read. But this one is Breasts and Eggs, and I really like this one because basically it kind of follows like two different people. It follows this one woman who's like our main character, and it has a lot to do with like infertility and motherhood and surrogacy and sperm donation and all this stuff. And I think like it talks a lot about like do women have to be mothers and all this stuff, and I really like it because it touches on a lot of different topics. And then it also follows her niece, who is 14, and she feels out of place among all of her peers because she's the only one in her class who hasn't started her period, and it's a whole thing. So it has a lot to do with puberty and stuff like that. But I just love all of Kawakami's works just because it talks about like really important stuff. Like I was saying about the other ones, like Heaven talks about building friendships over trauma, and it talks about bullying and the effects of bullying. And then there's All the Lovers in the Night, which talks about loneliness and mental health and stuff like that. And this one like I just mentioned, it talks a lot about like fertility and surrogacy and sperm donation and all of this stuff, because I guess in Japan sperm donation is like I guess it happens a lot, but it's a tricky topic to talk about or something. But I really enjoyed this book, and it was a 4.5 star, only because I don't know why, but I just felt like there was something missing. There's never been a book of hers that I've rated 5 stars. It's always been 4.5 stars. But I don't know, because I absolutely love her writing, and I love what she talks about, and I love every single book. But every time I read her books, I feel like there's some small thing, like I don't know what it is, but there's like something small that I just feel like kind of missing. So that's kind of why they've always been 4.5. So, and then in November, the first book I read was I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. And I read this because the movie came out in November. I haven't watched it. I still really want to watch it because it actually looks pretty good. But it's basically about this teenager, and they kind of are discovering themselves. They realize that they're non-binary, and they essentially get kicked out because of that. And there's their older sister who lives alone, who lives with her husband, and it's been like 10 years since they've seen each other, and she'd run away from home. They basically move in with her, and they go to a whole new school, and it's a whole thing. So it's got a lot to do with like discovering yourself and being a queer teen and being a non-binary teen and all this stuff. And there's also some romance in it, and I rated it 4 stars just because it's a good book. But one, I wasn't a huge fan of the romance, and it just didn't feel believable. And 2, I felt like, I hate to be that person, but I felt like there was a bit too much queer representation because I just felt like almost every single character was like trans or gay or something. I was just like, it's a lot. It is a lot. It was kind of hard to keep up with who was who and all this stuff. But I think overall that it's a pretty important story, and that it's like got a good message to it, just because I feel like we don't often see books or movies about like trans youth or non-binary youth or stuff like that. So I liked it, but there's just some things that I felt like there was a bit too much of, or not enough of, or stuff like that. And then the next book that I read is Show Me Justice by Alvin Lee Sykes. This is an autobiography. And and I was the first person to leave a review. So I really like that on Fable, at least. And so, but yeah, it's basically about this guy. He went into law, and it's a lot about him growing up in the South in the 60s as a black man, and he had a lot to do with not civil rights in the 60s, because I'm pretty sure he was born in like 56 or something, but he did have a lot to do with like, what is it? Anyway, but I can't remember. But he became a lawyer, all this stuff. He helped to reopen Emmett Till's case. And so I thought that was really interesting, and I really liked learning about all that. And eventually I want to get an actual physical copy, because it's a really good book, and anytime there's a book that I really, really like, I get a physical copy, which is what I did with this next book. But this book, I rated 5 stars. It was a really good book. I really enjoyed it. And he had like a lot to do with civil rights, or like all these different cases that I found really interesting. So the next book is Revelations by Mary Sherratt, or Mary Sherratt. I don't know how you say it exactly. I did not think I was gonna like this, just because it's heavy on the religion. It is like super, super heavy on the religion. And basically this is fiction, but it is inspired by an actual woman's life, named Marjorie Kemp. And basically she starts having these visions and stuff, and this is all in like the 13 or 1400s, and basically she starts having these visions, and she believes it's like God sending her signs and stuff like that. And so basically she goes on this whole journey to meet this woman. Her name is like Julian or Julianne. I'm not sure how you spell it. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, because it's spelled like Julian. So I don't know if it's Julian or if it's Julianne. But that's also a real person, and I do want to get her work, like the books about her and stuff. But basically she had released a whole bunch of like books and like secretly spread them out, and it's all about God, and she was having these revelations and stuff like that. And she went on this whole what is it? It's like a, I guess, rant or speech or whatever, but basically she was traveling the world talking to people about how like God is actually like loving, and there's no eternal damnation and all this stuff, and she believed that there was no hell because God gave her this revelation that like, yes, there's like sins and there's stuff that's going to be like morally bad, but essentially no matter what sin you commit, you're not going to end up in this eternal damnation that all these men are saying. And so it's got a lot to do with like being a woman in those times, while also like not trying to be considered like being charged for what is it, Lollardry or something like that. But it was like really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was amazing, so I rated it 5 stars. The ending, it's okay. And at the beginning of the book, Marjorie is like involved with this guy, and I got so invested, only for him to die in the ocean and his body never be recovered. So I got my heart wrecked, because I was invested in them for like a fat minute, and then he died, and then she agreed to marry some dude who was basically a shitty person. And let's just say that half of the children she had, she didn't, I mean, she wanted the children, but like she didn't agree to, you know, like it was a whole thing. But it was a really, really good book. And I got this. I haven't read it yet, but because I read that, I got this. And so it's Marjorie Kemp's book. And eventually I want to get like Julianne of Norwich, which is the other one. And then in kind of November, kind of December, there's A Little Life. Now, I never finished this book. I'm that far into it. This is a thick book. It's like 850 pages or something. What?
That looks like one of the books that Mia just got.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
It's not.
Oh, okay. I thought that was the duplicate.
But, yeah, no, I DNF'd this. Like, I didn't finish it, but it wasn't because I don't like it. Like, I think it's a really good book, but it's just, it deals with a lot of heavy topics. So it's like, deals with like racism and ableism and homophobia and abuse and a whole bunch of stuff. And so it's just a super heavy book, both literally and in the actual reading. But I don't know. Like, I started annotating it and stuff, but I never 100% finished it, as you can see. I was on 152 of like, let me see just how many pages there are. $814 books. So that's a lot. Yeah, no, but I did not finish this. But I really like it, and I really like all of the characters so far, at least all the main characters. But I think pretty much all of their stories are pretty sad. And so I just decided to take a break from it, because I was like reading this at work on my lunch break, and I'm just like, I cannot be reading this right now. So there's that. So I didn't finish it, but it's whatever. And then the first book that I actually finished, that's where that went. I've been looking for this.
It was in the book?
Yeah.
Were you using it as a bookmark?
No, I use it because I like my lines to be straight when I underline something. So that's what I use this for. Thank God. I've been looking for that.
Compass, right? Or protractor? Which one is that?
I have no clue. I've not been in math in like 3 years. Anyways, but this is The Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole. This is considered the first Gothic novel ever published, and so I decided to read it. I rated it for 4.5 stars. I really liked it, and it kind of sucks that there's not really any movies on this. There is a like 15-minute stop motion thing from the 70s that was made that's actually pretty interesting, but there's no actual movie, and I would love for there to be a movie because I think that this is such an interesting book. But the main character was absolutely insufferable, because basically it's this really rich dude and he dies. Well, no. Well, yeah, he dies. His dad is like a super, super rich dude. The son is basically engaged to marry this woman, but he dies. He's accused of being murdered. It's this whole entire thing, so yeah. And basically, the dad wants to marry the fiance and basically hunts her down, and she discovers in the castle that there's all these different like hidden passageways and all sorts of stuff and hidden stairs and all, like, just a whole bunch of different things in this castle. So she's going through them and trying to escape, and she's going to tunnels to a church and all this stuff while trying to escape and run away from this crazy ass man, because I do not like him. He's absolutely insufferable, and that's the only reason that this is not a 5-star, because I know that he's meant to be insufferable, but I literally could barely get through this book because of how insufferable this man is. Because he's got a wife, yet he's full set on marrying his son's fiance and forcing her into it. But she does not want to. And so it's a whole thing. But I just like, And there's like ghosts and there's a whole bunch of stuff involved, and I really, really like it. But I really want a movie. I really want a movie. Somebody needs to make a movie on this because it's actually a pretty good book.
I want to make it.
The next one. The Reader. Yay. By Bernard Schlink. I rated this 4.5 stars because I do like it, but I felt like the author was trying to make me feel bad for, what's her name? Hannah?
Montana?
Anyways, so, yeah. But this is the movie cover, and I kind of want to watch the movie, but I do not feel bad for Hannah. She's an absolute horrible person. I don't care if she can't read or write. I don't care. I mean, yeah, she was framed into saying something and signing something and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you're a Nazi. You're a pedophile. You're just not a good person. So, yeah, no. But basically, this is about this guy. There's 3 different timelines. There's one in like the 20s, 30s kind of timeline. And it's this guy, he's like 14 or 15 years old. And he eventually runs into this older woman when he gets really, really sick. And he develops a relationship with her. It's a whole thing. And she basically, like, we follow both him, like his perspective, but also kind of her, as we literally read that she's manipulating him into all this stuff. And then she dips, she vanishes, and she leaves because she was a Nazi and they were trying to come get her to basically like pay for her crimes and all this stuff. A few years pass, it's post World War II, and she's being charged for all of the crimes that she committed as a Nazi, including burning a whole bunch of Jewish people in a church, which is literally insane. But throughout that whole trial, which is most of the book, the author is kind of trying to make you feel bad for her because she can't read or write, and so she was kind of forced into signing something that basically kind of incriminated her. And so it was this whole thing. So she serves time, all this stuff, and then it cuts to like probably the 80s or 90s. And he is now a lot older, and she's older, still alive. She's probably in her like 70s or 80s. He's probably in his late 50s. No, that wouldn't make sense. Probably, yeah, late 50s, early 60s. I don't know. I'm bad at math, okay? But basically, they meet after she gets out, and we basically learn that he is pretty much kind of a deadbeat dad, and we kind of see how she, like the way that she had groomed him affected him later in life and stuff like that, because he wasn't really in his daughter's life, he wasn't really a good husband, all this stuff. And I'm not saying like, oh, that's an excuse for being a bad person, because it's not. And I wouldn't say he's a bad person, it's just he wasn't really in his family's life. But it's like that is a huge reason why he was the way he was. And so it's a whole thing. I really like that, and I really want to watch the movie because it does look pretty interesting. But I am kind of sad to hate Kate Winslet, so because she plays Hannah, and I love Kate Winslet. So
I don't know. After what she did to him.
what'd you say?
I'm not a fan. Not after what she did to him. She couldn't move over and let him on.
I'm never going to watch the Titanic because 1, I have no interest in it. 2, it's 3 hours long.
She let Jack go.
The next one is Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan. John Green is a really, really famous author, but this is like the only book I've ever read by him. And I love David Levithan. He's a really good author, and I read like 2 books by him. I've read Every Day, and there's a movie, and it's actually pretty good. And I've read Boy Meets Boy, and that's also a pretty good book. But this one, I rated like 3.5 stars. I didn't really have an interest in any of the characters. Some of the characters either felt too bland, or it felt like they had too much going on, or they felt like very over the top, like they were overperforming, basically. The 2 main characters, I think it's cool that they have the same name and they live in the same town and all that, but I really did not care for like almost any of them, and I didn't really care for the plot, and I was just pretty much bored. Like it's the only reason I rated it 3.5 stars is because it's not a bad book at all. Like it's a pretty like good plot, but I just think the writing was kind of boring, and I just felt like either the characters weren't going to go anywhere, or there was too much going on, or they're just like these super eccentric, over the top characters, and I'm just like, leave me alone. So there's that. And the last, and no, not the last. One more I forgot about. Let me go to this. And it's Sodom, Revenge of the Women by Kelvin V.A. Allison. Yeah. I rated this like 2.5 stars, maybe 3. It's not a bad book, but one, it's part 2 in a series, and I did not know that. So, yay. And secondly, there's like a few typos, and like the writing is kind of weird. Plus, it's just like really gory. And sometimes I don't mind gore because I read Womb, and that was pretty gory, and really there's only one thing that actually disturbed me, and I rated that 4 stars because for me it wasn't gory or disturbing enough. This one, I feel like in some books the amount of gore it works, in some books it doesn't. Same thing with movies. This one, it just didn't work for me, and I felt like sometimes it was a bit over the top, but like not in a way I wanted. Like, I don't know, I was just like, okay. Like, I wasn't really disgusted or horrified or anything. I was just like, there's a lot going on, a bit too much in my opinion. So, anyways, and finally, the last and final book is Dumplin' by Julie Murphy. I love Julie Murphy. She's a great author. Literally one of my favorite authors. And then there's also a movie. Obviously, this is the movie cover, and I still have my bookmark in there, so that's lovely. But this is like a really, really good book. I actually really like it. Dumplin' is one of my favorite movies of all time. Literally in my top 4 on Letterboxd. Absolutely love it. Probably one of the best movies I've ever seen. And then I read the book. Why? Because I decided to watch the movie again, and there's so many things in the book that they left out of the movie that I would have actually loved to see, but they kept it out. It's still a really good movie, and it will always be 5 stars for me because it's literally it's a pretty relatable movie, but it's like one of the best movies I've ever seen. Yes, some things are a bit rushed, but it's still a really good movie, and I absolutely love it. But there's like some characters in this that aren't even in the movie, or there's like some characters where they're given kind of more in-depth and stuff like that. And Lucy, who's a pretty vital character because it's Willadine's aunt who passes away, and she was like basically her idol, like her everything, all this stuff. She's a lot more she's mentioned a lot more in the book rather than the movie, but I feel like she's still very prominent in the movie just because she's essentially she literally is a character, but she's essentially the main character in a way. But I absolutely love this book, and I love the movie, and I love everything about it, and it's literally probably a masterpiece in my opinion. So yeah, that was all the books that I read in 2025.